Hi, this is Darcy Leech, and I am talking to you about publishing and marketing a book in the social media era, and we're about to go through the grammar lesson. So you can get a hold of me if you'd like through darcyleech.com or on Facebook. But I am the author of From My Mother, Surviving and Thriving in a Family Ravaged by Genetic Disease, and it's a true story of my mother and brother having myotonic muscular dystrophy, and this presentation is on how I use social media to try to get that book in the hands that need it. So these are the three main social media mediums that will pay out well in terms of building traction and reach for your book. So we have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And since Facebook is usually going to have your most invested audience because it's the people that know you and care the most about your particular success or story, the examples are going to be for that. But these are the three that if you haven't done any social media marketing yet, should definitely be in one of these three that you start, but Facebook is the easiest to begin with. So in social media, you want to write tight. That means keep it short and simple. You want to eliminate unnecessary words, and you have to keep in mind when you're working with social media, whatever your writing style is inside of your book, however much description or word choice or adjectives or adverbs you want to use in your book, traditional grammar does not own effective social media use, and these rules I'm talking to you about as not necessarily rules in a textbook, but effective use of rhetoric on social media. So we're not playing in the same sandbox as the 1960s grammar textbooks. Now, if you have a long piece you want to share, link it. That means if you want to write 3 pages, it should be somewhere in a blog or posted on some site where you can get to it, but probably not on the social media medium itself. Keep commentary short. Pictures are good, videos are good, 3-paragraph status updates, not so much. You want to stick between 200 characters or 40 words or fewer in your target range, and if you're working with specific mediums, it's less than that. On Twitter, you'd want 140 character limit, and on Instagram, most of the language communicated would be in the image itself, so the actual word count around it would be very minimal. Your images need to be evocative and powerful on Instagram because people don't read a lot of words there. So writing well on social media, to write tight, you may have to view grammar differently, and that is important as a writer. You got to get that through your head. If you're writing for social media, you are not writing a formal thesis-based paper. You are not writing a sentence that contains 4 commas to invite your PhD level reader into an elaborate description. Keep in mind the typical audience, the scroll time, the thinking pattern of a social media user. You may have to view grammar differently. If the grammatical difference is small, go with fewer words. If I can eliminate the word that and not lose content in my sentence, I should do it. If I can change my syntax or use more powerful diction, I should do it. With powerful there does not mean that bigger words are exactly what we want or those highfalutin words. Instead, we want something that's going to communicate successfully with our audience. So here's the first example. This is a post from my page. And this post is a longer post link through a blog. So all I posted on Facebook, and I am going to give you Facebook-based examples because again, that's where your best traction is. I have 4 sentences up at the top, and it links to a longer blog post, and the blog post actually is a photo blog, so it has lots of images. And in this post, I'm going to talk you through it, but here's the key idea. Read that story. Here is an imperative sentence, and imperative sentences are important on social media. So whenever you write on social media, if you can, you want to use an imperative sentence to build a call to action. Consider writing any post in an imperative sentence at least once rather than declarative. Remember, declarative sentence tell us or describe something, and imperative gives a command. And usually it's not polite to give somebody a command, but think of it as a call to action. So declarative example says you can sign up at the basketball game, and people think, oh, that's nice, that's a good option. Okay. But if I give you an imperative example, sign up at the basketball game, I am more likely to take action. So the psychology of social media, if you include a call to action, you are not only reducing word count, we dropped 2 words from the imperative from the declarative to the imperative, but also we psychologically compel or move our reader towards taking action. And when we talk about click-through rate on social media, that's what we want. We want action. We want engagement. So here's how this post works. First, I start with self-revelation. That's kind of the currency of social media. So I lost my mother and brother to the same genetic disease. Okay, kind of interesting, but why do you care? So the second sentence is, why do you care? I wrote a book about it. There's lots of people that write a book, so still, why is this worth clicking on? Well, I took the book to a conference for the disease that affected my family. Okay, that's a little more compelling. So see, those sentences build on each other. Self-revelation, the chance for you to read the story, and then a meaningful reason for you to pick up the story. But then these last four words are really the meat and potatoes of why this is an engaging piece. Read that story here. Notice that's imperative, that's a command. And while I could write tighter and just say read this or read that story and lose the word here, here is a clicking word. And if I want to increase my click-through rate and I say read that story here, it tells you that you can click on the photo blog and be taken to my website through my blog and read that full story. So the idea is self-revelation, build upon its meaning, talk about its magnitude, give you an imperative sentence to ask you to click on the photo blog. And it had a decent click-through rate on that post. All right, another important use of grammar in social media is active versus passive voice. And when you're editing or being edited, often you will want to try to get in the active voice anyway for your writing, but this is especially important in social media. So the active voice, grammatically, means that your subject is the performer of the action. And that means more often your subject will be at the beginning of the sentence. The verb would come after the active voice noun. So here's an example of why we'd want to use it. Active voice uses fewer words, is clearer and more direct. So an active example, he kicked the ball, 4 words. A passive example, you'll notice the ball was kicked by him, is 6 words. So not only is it more word count, but it is delayed action. And when people think faster with their thumb on social media, you need to write tighter. So he kicked the ball is definitely preferred to the ball was kicked by him. So the main reason passive is more words is the word by and the object of our preposition him. So we have a prepositional phrase that has to be added in order for the passive example to work. So passive voice has its place, and sometimes you might even want to use it on social media, but most of the time you will want to write an active voice to match the scrolling brain of the Facebook thumb. Another thing you want to be aware of is that punctuation and capitalization are tools, and if they can shorten your word count, that means they're effective tools. So while you want to know the grammar rules, you also want to know that communication is not ruled by grammar. Know the grammar rules, but know that grammar does not rule communication. On social media, it is okay if you use a fragment sentence or use grammar or exclamation points or whatever in order to emphasize a point. Because remember, the thumb thinks faster than the brain that read print books before as regularly as people read social media. So it's okay to emphasize a word or two with capital letters. You don't want to yell at your audience by writing in all capital letters, but if you can emphasize a word, it's better than adding words to use capitals. So exclamation points can be important to avoid unnecessary adjectives or adverbs. Those add words, just like in editing your novel, your text, adjectives and adverbs we often look to cut. Social media especially, because people don't want to spend longer than they have to per post. If you want to catch them, you are writing tight. That is a key to social media use. Along with exclamation points and punctuation and capitalization, hyphens are some of your best friends on social media. Not only because they can help you eliminate word count, but they put you in the casual register rather seamlessly. So hyphens can do an awful lot inside the rules of grammar, and yet they're never going to feel too formal when used to connect sentences. So hyphens can help a fragment sentence feel complete, and they can also cut out words like it is. So I'm going to talk you through this post that uses a hyphen. I actually posted this while at a conference with another author who is another member of the community where I was at with the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation. And this is going to have a casual appeal, build a human connection between me and another author, but also the audience at the same time. And when it says hanging out, that is slang, jargon, whatever you want to say. But again, it puts us in that casual register with fellow writer. It builds that community, that connection. And then I drop two proper nouns of association. So you have the Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation and Rob. And what happens here is that I introduce you to somebody that I'm knowing, and I tell you to check him out because he's in a video with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So I'm doing Rob a favor by connecting to him to our shared audience, and also building rapport by giving them a message of worth, because Rob's story is really cool and that video is well done. So another thing you want to do when writing well on social media is make sure with pictures you don't feel compelled to write in complete sentences, because at that point you're writing a title or a caption and maybe a complete sentence. But remember, grammar does not rule effective communication, and picture captions do not need to be complete sentences. So you can avoid unnecessary words with the picture. And purposely pick positive words. People are attracted to positive descriptions on social media, especially if you're building a brand. So another grammatical rule here, if we talk about ellipses, they can add voice to a sentence but should not be overused. So the dot dot dot, that is an ellipses. I would actually use those with moderation because visually they take up more space and a little more brain time. Now they can hear the pause in their brain sometimes when you put in ellipses, but if you're writing in the casual voice anyway and writing tight, you shouldn't need them, and they can look indecisive. So ellipses use occasionally, but not too often. So if you really want big impact, what you should do on social media is use big image. So this is another blog post I'll walk you through. So this actually came straight from my WordPress. I carefully chose the featured photo, and this image is an old photo, but what the image does is it talks about, well, it communicates the person my mother was, and this is actually a letter I got from a reader on the 5th anniversary of her passing, and the reader wanted to express something to me, so it was kind of like my mom was looking after me. But the eyes being in the center, thinking about the measurements and the dimensions of the picture and what would speak to the reader in the personal sense of this. And I think my viewership of my Facebook page would be aware of around the time my mom passed. Some of the readers would, particularly the dates in the book. But this picture speaks a lot by itself, because that's her in her youth and vitality before the disease would have gotten to her. So here I'm actually, in a way, my mom was smiling at me today in the words, and then the picture matches real well with that. And then again, you'll notice read one of the most meaningful. That's an imperative sentence giving the reader a suggestion, a call to action. And then the thank you is also using pronouns to speak directly to the one person. And often in social media, you should write as if you're writing to one person. So that was a pretty successful blog post that got a lot of engagement and had a meaningful thing to it, with credibility as it being a reader's response to my work and not just my work. So in social media, you do want to use the casual voice and focus on the social aspect of communication. You can't sound like a textbook and succeed on social media. You need to match the medium and match people's intended purpose when they log into social media. So this is a picture of me, and it's a selfie, and it's actually a selfie I took on a trip, and I'd posted about the trip multiple times so people knew what I was doing. It wasn't exactly live tweeting, but it was somewhat close. So something happened at the airport where somebody asked to take a picture of me in my shirt after we had talked. So notice the casual voice. There's actually no period on this. There's an LOL and a happy face. It's a selfie, so it matches the tone of that, the grammatical choice. But it also conveniently advertises for my book. It's shameless in saying marketing win on the white tee, so there's a little bit of self-deprecation there. but people enjoyed that. They thought the little Kansas girl is getting a big town strut, but it gives a message, communicates with my audience. It's fun, lighthearted, and conveniently has a picture of the book because I wore that t-shirt. We also want to try to use pronouns like we, you, I. Pronouns are another currency of social media, and you want to write as if you are talking to one person. So those pronouns we is a very powerful word because it says you and I together and builds a bond just in 2 letters. So we, when not overused or making too much of an assumption, really is one of those golden words for social media. So here's another post, and honestly, if your book hits the bestsellers list or near it for even 10 seconds, you should be ready to screenshot it because then you can use that again and again. So like I said before, my cover photo shows it as the #1 genetic health release, but then it actually hit #3 after a conference, an event-driven book sale time. So here's what I'll talk you through. I give them context about the MDF conference and make a nice little advertising claim that it's on the bestsellers list #3 in genetic health. And then thanks for the support. There's no you in this sentence, but it's an understood you. And at that point, I'm speaking directly to my reader, which is breaking the 3rd wall, but there's no 3rd wall on Facebook, so break it and talk straight to your audience. Your purchases and reviews matter. Now, there's a subliminal message here. Your purchase matters, and I'm thanking you for that, but also there's another option that you can review, and authors often have to beg for reviews, but maybe if you just thank people for their purchases and reviews, maybe 1 or 2 of them do go review. If you get the chance, the biggest help you can give the story is an Amazon review. So first sentence is more subliminal, and then the direct idea that, hey, these reviews matter. It really helps me out. If you can, pronoun. It's not an imperative sentence at that point, but it is a solicitation asking for those Amazon reviews, which is okay to do on Facebook. Just don't make your mom, dad, your dog do it. And one of the most important things on social media is that you stop and you edit before posting and you look at it again and you think about it and you ask, do I want to brand myself with this? Is this how I want to present myself to my readership? You can't spout off too often on social media. If you want to post about politics, it better be really important and you've thought it through. But also you want to read through it and check through it. And if you do catch an error, you need to know that you can edit and edit as soon as you catch it. It's okay to delete posts. You don't want to do that too often, especially if people have already commented, but editing and deleting are both viable options, but the best option is before you click enter that you stop, reread it, read it out loud, ask yourself if this builds towards your platform, if it works towards your goals, if it's going to isolate or polarize any of your audience, and edit before posting. Very important. Edit before posting, always and forever. And to wrap it up, the advertising won't matter if the book is poorly written, so don't spend your time on marketing if you should spend your time editing. Editing is very important. Writing is the key to what we do as authors, so spend the time in the book. That investment is worth it. Edit, 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 revise, revise, revise. Good writing is rewriting. Those things are just true. And all we could talk about marketing, event-driven book sales matter, but if you want to make a career as an author, your best advertisement for your book is your next book. So you do want to spend time marketing, building your platform, having a base on social media, having an online presence. Those things might help you land the next agent, the next press, sell the next book. But writing another book after the first will increase the sales on the first. So get some quality products out there, get more than one product out there. That's something I'm working on next. And use social media as a tool towards building your author career and using your words to change the world. If you have any questions, you can find me at Facebook. Just look me up, Darcy Leech, Leech, right there. You can find me on Twitter at Leech Darcy. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on Pinterest, Snapchat, all those sorts of things. But these are 3 that I invest in more heavily. And you can find me at darcyleech.com with a contact form. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.